Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. My name is Paul Harrell. This is the Millstone Report. As always, we can't do the show without you watching every single day. Thank you so much for being with us. We got a great show for you. Before we do anything, I want to remind you this portion of the Millstone Report brought to you by Red Vive Health and the healing power of red light. I want you to check out their red light panels. You can also call the 800 number 866-726-8483. We'll tell you more about the healing power of red light therapy a little later in the program. So a lot of things. So we've got a lot of things on the plate today. Going to talk a little bit about, if we have time towards the end, the Democrat Party, they've got this problem with young men, and so they're trying their best to, make up this gap. And some interesting theories. We're going to listen to some people on the left describe this problem. Also, interesting juxtaposition right now going on between somebody like a Theo Vaughn, who's grieved about the death in the Middle East, the people in Gaza who have been killed, the children. Also, Piers Morgan talking about that as well. That combined with President Trump saying yesterday that he did tell Benjamin Netanyahu not to attack Iran while the U.S. is in the middle of negotiations. And of course, somebody like a Ben Shapiro has taken issue with all of that, Theo Vaughn included. We'll talk about that. Also, this new story coming out with this whistleblower with the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, under the Biden administration, and also enacted by a law through Congress forgiving the loans, the agricultural loans of minorities, but not forgiving the agricultural loans of white people. So if you're white, you could not get your loan forgiven, but if you were black or really any other shade other than white, you would not get your loan forgiven. Fascinating report that's been broken. We have the article for that. Also, we got these rogue judges. A couple of things. Two judges now ruling that Donald Trump doesn't have the tariff authority that he thinks he does. The markets have clearly reacted to that. Also, a judge saying that Donald Trump doesn't have the authority to ban Harvard from importing foreign students. So the overactive judiciary just continues to plague the Trump administration. But as many people have said, this is not something, obviously, that the Trump administration didn't see coming. This didn't come out of left field. So we'll talk about all of that and more. But we're going to start first with what happened earlier this morning. We had Dan Bongino going on Fox and Friends, giving an interview last night. I believe we also had Kash Patel, FBI Director Patel, going on with Bret Baier on Fox News. Both of them were in the news a couple of weeks ago because they did this joint interview with Maria Bartiromo And they made some headlines about potential, truth that's going to be revealed about a lot of things, from the the J6 pipe bomber to J6 federal assets, in the crowd, Epstein. But one of the things they said that got people like me and you very skeptical is that they believe that Epstein killed himself. They believe the official government narrative that this in fact happened, and so this was a point of contention because, I don't believe that. And, of course, they say they've seen the file. And so, how did he hang himself with a paper bed sheet, right? Why did the cameras get turned off? Why did the guards fall asleep or pass out? All of that, it just doesn't make any sense. And I know you out there, doesn't make sense to you either. But speaking of the videos not working, apparently, we're just now finding out because Dan Bongino doubled down this morning on Fox and Friends saying, I not only have seen the file, but there is a video. There's a secret video that proves, not of Epstein killing himself, they say, but a video that proves that Epstein was alone and that nobody else was in the cell with him, and so it had to be Epstein that killed himself. So, well, let's just get right to it, shall we? This was the headline. Again, Bongino doubling down, insists that Epstein did, in fact, kill himself. Let's go right to the audio footage and the video footage, and let's hear it for ourselves.
Those two cases obviously are of significant public interest. I'm just telling you what we see in the file. I just want to be crystal clear on this. I am not asking anyone to believe me. I'm telling you what's there and what isn't.
Right.
There is nothing in the file at this point on the Epstein case, and there's going to be a disclosure on this coming shortly. We are working through there is video. That is something the public does not.
There's video of him killing himself.
No, not the actual act.
Now, first, that's a big development because for years we have been told that Epstein, that the videos were shut off, that the cameras were shut off very conveniently. Okay, which has obviously done nothing but fuel the conspiracy that, of course, we don't believe the government. We don't believe that Epstein killed himself. This is a guy who had dirt on everybody. It's really not even, I don't even see how it's even disputed that he was running a blackmail operation for intelligence services, for all, really for all of the people that many of us are waiting to be let out in handcuffs. Again, we're not going to hold our breath here. But, it's basically, like the Hugh Hefner Playboy Mansion. That was back in the day. That was also, I believe, intel. But that was back in the day where if you were caught in adultery, it would end your political career. And as our civilization has become more and more wicked, adultery is not something that can end a political career anymore, not as much as it used to be. And so we've got to get these compromised officials, politicians, business leaders, we've got to get them to not just commit adultery, but to commit it with underage kids or children. And that's how we'll now have them now. Because it's still on the books, right? You can't do that. That is an automatic jail sentence. So anyway, but it's a big deal to all of a sudden we realize, okay, now they're saying there is a video. Now, I've already heard scores of people online already saying, I don't care what video they produce, I'm not going to believe it. It's been 5 years at this point, or however long it's been. It's been longer than that. And artificial intelligence, AI-generated video has only gotten better since then. And so there's going to be a contingent of people, and I'm, myself included, I'm persuaded to that as well, that, well, we'll have to see the video, but, it's getting so good now that the government just can put out whatever story they want, and there is the technology out there to do that. And again, I'm not saying Bongino is the one behind it, but again, Bongino was given a file. This is what happened, put together by people who are, I just think it's undebatable, bad actors, and, nobody trusts them. Because this really comes down to another whole issue, and that's the idea of reforming the FBI versus abolishing it. Patel and Dan Bongino have gone in and they're trying to reform the FBI and restore its image. But it's not as if the FBI has just recently run into a scandalous nature. It has been that way almost. You can argue because of Hoover, the entire its entire existence. So they're going into a leviathan of corruption, and they're going to try to reform it. And it may have, I think history may end up saying that this may be something that just wasn't possible to do, and that it could be a big blunder that they didn't just abolish the FBI altogether. But I digress. I could be wrong on that fact. Let's listen to some more audio.
But the entire MCC Bay, it was only one camera. There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this, we are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him. Right. There's just nobody there. So I say to people all the time, if you have a tip, let us know. But there's no DNA, there's no audio, there's no fingerprints, there's no suspects, there's no accomplices, there's no tips, there is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
So Patrick Byrne, that's who it was. I said it was Patrick Webb a couple of weeks ago, but it's actually Patrick Byrne who has put out the theory that his sources say that the guards that fell asleep, their blood actually was tested and was tested for, nitrogen, the type of gas that would be used, like in a dentist office that would put somebody to sleep for, an operation. Is that true? I don't know. I have no idea. But if it were true, I think the conclusion is somebody who is operating on that level of sophistication would be a state-level actor. That's the allegation out here, is that this was a very, this was done by Tier 1 operators who have done something like this before. But this video is coming out. He says, doubling down here, saying, look, it's going to be conclusive. They're going to enhance it, but they're also going to give us the original. So I guess they're going to zoom in and so that we see the details. And the question will be whether or not you believe it at all. Again, the big hurdle that I can't get over, and again, Bongino used to be on this side of things, and he was very skeptical as well. But what I can't get over is this is what's in the file. I've seen the file. Well, Bongino didn't assemble the file. You also, Kash Patel didn't assemble the file. Somebody else assembled the file before they got there. Probably somebody loyal to James Comey, or probably somebody loyal to to Bill Barr, or the whole thing. It's just. You got to wonder why they are doubling down here. There's a lot of more pressing things that are on people's minds, like who Epstein trafficked kids to. Okay, so I don't know why we're going out on the limb here to try to set the record straight. To those of us on the right who are going to be, it's going to be very difficult to convince any of us that Epstein actually killed himself. But it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I mean, clearly the file has been prepared where there's no fingerprints, no accomplices, no nothing. So it's just a cold case. It's dead. There's nothing that you can do about it. But we still have all these Epstein files. And I know they say they are vigorously going through them all. But the American people are wanting those responsible for all of this we want to know what's going to happen to them. If anything. Is anything going to happen to them? That's what we want to know. Is anything going to happen to the people that were running the Fedsurrection? And they have, there's new developments on that as well. So here is Kash Patel sitting down with Brett Baer talking about Epstein. Listen.
The other thing on the internet is the Epstein files. What's the answer to that?
The answer to that is the same as everything else. I'm not going to withhold information from the American public ever. But I'm also not going to rush to get it out there in a format in which they can't rely on it. So on the Epstein matter or any other matters, we are diligently working on that. And it takes time to go through years of investigations, years of political maneuvering, and years of cover-up to get the American people what they deserve. And that's what I'm going to give them on everything.
Yeah.
I hope he's right, and I get it could take a long time. I mean, I'm glad he used the word cover-up there, a little bit of, admitting that this has been a cover-up. There's also a section, and I don't know if we had this audio pulled, where he talks about just, there's a continuing stream of documents from the FBI in what they're uncovering on a whole lot of things, Crossfire, Hurricane, J6. I don't know if Epstein is one of those as well, but you would think you got to think critically here. I mean, how many congressmen went to Epstein Island? So the idea that sending documents to Congress doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. It doesn't make me think that accountability is coming soon. And again, I'll just reiterate, I think we have to celebrate when great things happen, and we have to continually, I think we're totally entitled to have a very healthy skepticism of government and those in power, because the American people have been lied to so many times. Our government exists to lie to the American people. That's been a function of it. That's just been the reality for so long, and everybody knows about it. I mean, one of the things that we now know, with thanks to Elon Musk, who's now stepping down from his special government role, is the Doge. The Doge exposed so much corruption, so much wasted money, so many favors being doled out, and that it's obvious that the government not only actively deceives us, but they hate the people that live here. They don't tell us that when they come and ask for our vote. And so it's, the idea that we're ponying up and we're going to continue to pay our taxes when, Doge, through foreign aid or, whatever they're spending money on, just gargantuan amounts of money, and yet so little money, like the sums that, some of us pay in taxes are a lot to us individually, a lot to our families, and yet they're up there spending money like drunken sailors with no accountability. They have magic money machines. They, are in bed with the Fed, who thinks they can, control the economy the way we control our thermostats in our houses, which I believe they can, because I think the whole system is that corrupt. So anyway, that's a lot there. But so he says he wants to deliver on the Epstein stuff, but he wants to get it right. Can we just get some names, though? I'm sorry. Can we just get some names? Maybe just release some names. Like, who is implicated here? You don't have to release all of them, but could you give us some? And release the evidence that proves it? And that would certainly go a long way. Here is Patel talking about J6.
But more importantly, people have had questions about January 6th and whether or not there were FBI sources, not agents, sources on the ground during January 6th. And I told you I would get you the definitive answer to that, and we have. And we are in the process, again, of working with our partners to divulge that information, and it is coming. And I will tell you this. The answer to that question will surprise and shock people because of what past FBI leaders have said about it.
Former FBI Director Chris Wray eventually admitted to Congress there were 26 FBI confidential human sources in around the Capitol January 6th, but not actual agents. Can you say that's true? Are there more than that? What you're learning from that?
I can say that that is definitely a piece of the truth. Why it took a ton of time for and questioning in Congress for the director to get that point is what I'm trying to eliminate from the FBI. If Congress asks you a question under oath, whether or not there were sources in around January 6th at the Capitol, you as the director of the FBI need to know that and not deflect and give a DC answer. You have to be prepared for that, and that's the answer we're giving. That's the answer Chris Wray should have given.
And eventually everybody's going to know the whole picture.
Yeah, because the American people deserve that. And look, no one's more frustrated than me. Remember, I was Chief of Staff of the Department of Defense on January 6th. We said that we were ready, and the President had previously authorized the National Guard to be there days in advance. I spent 2 years, a small fortune, grand juries, to testify to the truth. And what happens now, years later? We were right. Bowser and Pelosi rejected that offer. And instead of figuring out how to prevent security lapses like that ever again, the American public spent tens of millions of dollars and countless hours on TV listening to conspiracy theories because those in positions of leadership failed to tell the American public the truth. But more
talking about the TV, is he talking about the J6 committee? You'll remember that the J6 committee hired a former or consulted, I think hired a former ABC News TV producer because they wanted this to be an appointment television. They wanted, of course, the American people didn't care. Leftists cared, but they wanted it to be appointment television to find out what happened. You know, the Democrats compared it to 9/11, an insurrection to stop the peaceful transfer of power. We remember all of this. But what I want to know, I mean, if we're talking about, I want to know, I want an explanation from the FBI about the J6 video that we've seen that, you know, shows people getting arrested, then unhandcuffed, and then fist bumping the Capitol Police. Remember that one? Remember that one? They gave me a fist bump. That's what I want to know. I want to know if there were FBI agents involved. I want to know about the Capitol Police. I want to know about the D.C. Metro Police. That's what I want to know, all about that. I mean, many of it we already do know. I mean, we're not idiots. But I guess what we also want to know, who's going to be held accountable for that, Kash Patel? And we need to be as vocal as you want about it, you know. And don't hold your breath, because that could be detrimental to your health, I think. But we will see. Crossfire hurricane. There was an update on that.
You know, you were on with Maria a few weeks ago, and you said this.
What we can do now is continue to put out the documents and the information that these people withheld from the American public. You're about to see a wave of transparency.
What do you mean?
Just give us about a week or two.
All right, we're almost at 2 weeks. So this is about Crossfire Hurricane. You just talked about that, all that you've been learning. Can you give us a little of that wave of transparency?
Absolutely. So just quickly on Crossfire Hurricane, that is a continuing production. We have found material, and I'm the Crossfire Hurricane guy, that I didn't even know existed in FBI holdings.
So there's been held someplace else, or?
That's been stashed away in locations that people thought we wouldn't find it because we wouldn't know to look for it there. And as promised with my congressional partners, I'm working with Congress on constitutional oversight, because that's what the American people deserve. And those documentations have been flowing to Congress nonstop on a rolling basis since that interview. But more importantly, people have had questions about January 6th and whether or not there were FBI sources, not agents, sources on the ground during January 6th. And I told you I would get you the definitive answer.
So we just heard that clip, but we heard a little bit before it about Crossfire Hurricane. Now that was the clip I was referring to earlier about where, you know, we're sending these troves of Crossfire Hurricane documents. Of course, Crossfire Hurricane was the operation that framed President Trump for treason. Now, because this directly implicates Trump, and I would also say this for the Secret Service assassination attempt, you would think that Donald Trump would want every single bit of the Crossfire Hurricane conspiracy to frame him for treason to be out in public, and for people to go to jail who perpetrated this hoax against the American people and effectively sabotaged his first term. I think we have to remember that. Donald Trump's, they not only framed him for treason, they got half the country convinced that he was a Russian agent of Vladimir Putin. So, you know, the ball is in their court, and, you know, we're just supposed to sit here and hurry up and wait. And it's extremely frustrating. I mean, let's be real. It's extremely frustrating. And then finally we have this, you know, he said they were moving out of the Hoover building. Listen to this.
So you want to move out of that building. Where would the new headquarters be?
I can tell you that we are in the process of moving out. We've just worked out the final logistics to begin that process, and we are actually in line with keeping the American taxpayer dollars on mission, shuttering about 6 different offices the FBI has in the D.C. area, and we're moving to our new location within the D.C. area, and that process has already started.
Which is where? Maryland?
We're staying in Washington, D.C., right next to our partners at the Department of Justice, and we're getting out of the Hoover building. I have cargo nets holding up the cement structures of the exterior of the Hoover building because it catches falling cement and prevents it from hitting someone in the head. I'm not making that up. Why no one in the past decided to address that standard or lack of standard and make that building unsafe is beyond me, but we're addressing it.
Interesting. When he said that it was unsafe in the Bartiromo interview, he said it was unsafe. I just assumed he was talking about, operational security, and I just presumed that the whole building is bugged by other intelligence agencies, which it probably is. But he's literally saying that no, that structurally a piece of concrete could fall off the building, and we have nets there to catch it. I mean, anyway, you find out something new every day. And I think this is the same clip here, closing aspects on J6. Oh, no, this is pipe bombs. Let's listen to this.
So the moment Cash
so this is, I'm sorry.
We realized.
This is back to Dan Bongino earlier on Fox and Friends. That's why. So we're going to it's going to be a little bit of a crisscross here.
So the moment Cash and I swore in, we realized that the first thing we had to do is rebuild public trust. This is your FBI. It's not mine. I tell the employees every day.
It's going to be
you
tough
don't
to
own
do.
it. You don't own it. I don't own it. It's like being the center fielder for the Yankees. That'll live with you forever, but you don't own the Yankees. It's a proud franchise. The place has taken a reputational hit. There is zero question about it. There were a lot of bad actors. One of them still out there causing us all kinds of trouble. So we had to fix it and rebuild public trust. One of the ways to do it is these cases of significant public interest that matter. We had 2 pipe bombs planted on January 6th. I mean, we were told by partisan actors out there this was the insurrection, the world was going to fall apart, and no one seemed to show any interest in this case. The second we got in, I put a team on it, and I said, I want answers on this. And I'm pretty confident that we're closing in on some suspects. The reason, by the way, I use social media with these cases, I'm trying to communicate on social media, is nothing's by accident, guys. I do nothing by accident. Every time I put a tweet out on it, we get tips. We got a fascinating tip on one of these cases, one of the 3. I don't want to say which one, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to close out one of them, hopefully shortly. And in the cocaine in the White House, I saw someone on social media, which is fine. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. We work for you, but said, I don't care about the case. Yeah, I do. I was a Secret Service agent. A potentially hazardous material made its way into the White House. Nobody seems to know how it got there, and nobody seemed to investigate it fully. What planet do we live on where that's not of public interest?
Okay, so forget the cocaine for a second. The pipe bomb. Now that would be huge. I mean, that would go a long way into further publicly exposing, for good, the Fedsurrection. Is why did they stop pursuing who planted the pipe bomb and where? And whoever did it, why did he do it? Where did he work at the time that he did it? Where has he worked in the past? These are all going to be valid questions. If they have a suspect, they're closing on a suspect with the pipe bomber. That would be huge, certainly. And then we have more on, let's see, James Comey.
Of Jim Comey, because he cannot control himself and his emotions. He is a child. He is a big child. And let me tell you one more thing. Look at Jim Comey, who wants you to believe. Jim Comey taking a shot at the president. Oh, look at me. I'm such a victim. The president's going after me. He's making a ton of money on this book. The only person that got prosecuted was the president. Jim Comey, we're finding stuff even now. Wait till you read the stuff that's coming out.
Does he still have loyalists in the building? Because when I hear the FBI director saying, you guys are finding boxes that are hidden, okay, how does that happen in the Bureau?
Well, we were there a couple of weeks, and luckily there were a lot of people up there who grabbed us by the arm the minute we came in and said, thank you for being here. We need to talk.
Well, those are the people I'm highly suspicious of. Yes, there could be good guys that have been like, thank goodness you guys are here. This place is so corrupt. But I wouldn't necessarily take their word for it, right? Are those the guys that are also like, oh, yeah, here's the Epstein file. He didn't kill himself. I hate being this skeptical. I really do. But, I mean, I am.
There are people there who are really horrified at what happened. And there was a room, and we found stuff, a lot of stuff.
A hidden room.
I wouldn't call it hidden, but hidden from us at least, and not mentioned to us. And then we found stuff in there, and a lot of it's from the Comey era, and we are working our damnedest right now to declassify. And just so you know, because I get the public, I totally understand people saying, well, do it now. The process is not all the information is ours to declassify. Some is other intelligence agencies. It's not, we literally can't do it. Once that gets done and that gets out there and you read some of the stuff we found that, by the way, was not processed through the normal procedure, digitizing it, putting in FBI records. We found it in bags, hiding under Jim Comey's FBI. Quickly, you're going to be stunned.
The shells on the beach. Can you not?
So, I also heard that because of the shells on the beach situation, the 8647, they now have so many people, copycatting that message that it's actually eating up FBI resources because they can't just ignore it. I mean, they take it as a threat on the president's life, and so Comey has, made it acceptable to do that, and they have to now divert resources. Patel was saying they now have to divert resources from, active cases, violent criminals, to make sure that this person that now they think they can just, say 8647 as a joke. They've got to follow up and make sure that this, person isn't serious and actually plotting to assassinate Donald Trump. Anyway, fascinating times that we live in. What do you think? Do you believe it? I mean, where are you with that? I think there's some positive stuff here. There's also just a reason to be highly skeptical of a lot of this stuff as well. And we're going to have to, it's one of those things, folks, where we're going to have to wait and see. Before we go any further, I want to tell you about Red Vive Health and the great folks over at redvivehealth.org/Paul. That's the link. Or call 866-726-8483. Red Vive devices emit red and near infrared light. This is a way for you to feel better. It's also a way for you to look better. The red light increases collagen production in your skin, which yields tighter skin, anti-aging properties. And then, of course, the near infrared light in these targeted doses is absorbed into your body, and it penetrates deep into your body. It reaches your bones, your muscles, your tissues, and even your organs. This is scientifically proven technology, and a lot of the papers and stuff are up at redvivehealth.org/Paul. And so I want you to check this out. You've heard me say it, but this is technology I firmly believe in, and I also believe that Big Pharma doesn't want you to have anything to do with it because they want the never-ending cycle. They want to drive you into the arms of Big Pharma. I want you to consider this. There's 0% interest financing. There's also a 60-day money-back guarantee. So you can try this thing for 60 days and send it back if you don't like it. But guess what? Nobody ever does, from what I've been told, because they recognize what I recognized immediately when I turned the machine on. This is something special, and you can almost just feel like, okay, my body needs this. It can help with inflammation, aches and pains, bruises, but just general well-being and health, because we're not getting the red light that we need because we're sitting in desks, looking at blue lit screens all the time. Or in my case, I'm under these blue studio lights that you guys can't see, but they're hard on the eyes. Lighting your path to wellness. Shop now at redvivehealth.org/Paul. You help keep this show on the air when you buy these things, which is something that obviously I very much appreciate. Redvive Health, VIVE health.org/Paul, or call 866-726-8483. We're going to be right back after we hear from our good friend, Mike Lindell.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupted this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. any size, any color. So go to mypillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
All right, so you see the promo code on your screen, PH, mypillow.com, promo code PH, and check out their summer savings. Again, up to 80% off. And it's, we got to sit down and talk to Mike Lindell. He also needs your prayers right now because he's being persecuted in the courts, something that, people that go against the uniparty, it's a reoccurring theme. Folks, this next portion of the Millstone Report brought to you by Curable Premium Health and their amazing CBD products. We'll tell you more about their CBD products here in just a moment. Elon Musk is back in the news, ladies and gentlemen. Elon Musk is scheduled to end his relationship with the government as a special government employee. That's right. This has been a very interesting arc for Elon Musk. Some people are saying the fact that the Republicans seem to have an allergy to codifying the Doge cuts and the waste, fraud, and abuse that was found is as effectively the Republicans alienating their biggest donor, who would be an asset and an ally to allowing the Republicans to keep the House and the Senate next year. He writes, as my scheduled time as a special government employee comes to an end, I would like to thank President Donald Trump for the opportunity to reduce wasteful spending. The Doge mission will only strengthen over time as it becomes a way of life throughout the government. Let's hope that's true. Mindy Robinson, she says, thanks for exposing all the insane corruption our government won't do anything about because both sides are making money on it. At least American taxpayers know the depths of the highway robbery upon us now. Mindy Robinson is exactly right. We all know that essentially every government stereotype that you can think of has been confirmed thanks to Elon Musk's effort and Doge. And I'm glad that there's still the Doge team that's going to continue. And I saw last week where Musk said he's going to stay on, or there was a report that Musk is going to stay on as an advisor to Trump. And I don't doubt that that's, I believe that that's probably true. But it does. It is interesting. There's, the reports are that now that there's been such an online outrage that the big, beautiful bill did not codify Doge cuts, that the White House is going to be sending to the House and to the Senate a list of cuts that must be codified. And people are saying this is a breakthrough, and I hope it is. I hope they actually do it. But I don't trust these people. And I know you don't trust them either. And the idea that they're going to shrink the government themselves, it's been proven a very difficult thing to do. I've been around, in politics since 2009. I experienced the Tea Party movement and the letdown that it was, how it was co-opted, how it was astroturfed by giant corporations, and it's one of those. It just produces in me a skeptical attitude when stuff like this happens. Although, do you remember? Let's just be real, because I was super excited. I still am. Remember the idea of Doge checks to the American people? We're going to find so much savings that we're going to be able to give every tax-paying family $5,000. Do you remember the concept of eliminating the IRS altogether? Which, by the way, these stories here coming up about these courts not wanting Trump to have the power to tariff, turning the Internal Revenue Service into the External Revenue Service. I think all of that might still happen, but I just feel like it's less likely because D.C. is just so stubborn. They are so stiff-necked. They refuse to admit the will of the American people in electing Donald Trump to be this massive change agent, especially in his second term when he, knows, or he should know rather, certainly he knows more of the people not to trust. And they're begging for his endorsements and everything else. Here's Elon Musk saying he was disappointed with the big, beautiful bill that passed the House last week. Sorry, let me pipe that in.
Which increased.
You guys had some dead air there. Let me start over.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, like, everything he's done on Doge gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
So he's disappointed. People have remarked that Elon Musk, here's John Ekdahl on X, Elon Musk really did speed run through the Republican Party experience. Euphoric victory, grand sweeping plans, complete governing incompetence, political disillusionment. I think that's right. And as I mentioned, anybody who's been in politics, especially Republican politics, for very long, that's exactly what you feel. I felt it many times as I was covering local Arkansas politics, for 10 years. You get this big victory, you have these sweeping plans, we're going to reform, but then you have a complete governing incompetence, or you have outright betrayal and politicians finding excuses as to why they can't do what the people elected them to do, and then political disillusionment. It'll be interesting to see if Elon Musk backs any primary opponents of some of these rhinos in Congress. And then, of course, yesterday we had this terrible news that the United States Court of International Trade, Charlie Kirk writes, has just blocked President Trump's Liberation Day tariff, saying that authority is with Congress. The activist judges, what's even the point of having a president? You've seen that meme that Trump's going to resign so he can become an even more powerful U.S. District Court judge. Of course, Donald Trump does have the authority. Congress delegated that authority to the executive branch in 1962 with something called the Trade Expansion Act, which allows Donald Trump to control the tariff rates. Now, apparently this particular court decision didn't end all of Trump's tariffs. I think he can still do individual tariffs on steel and things like that, goods, commodities, but he can't just do sweeping tariffs, I guess. So to me, that would basically just change nothing. Then just if you can't do a sweeping blanket tariff, then just go into everything that they trade and tariff those things individually. But then we had this as well. Eric Daugherty writing, another judge just blocked Trump's tariffs. That's the latest. Obama Judge Rudolph Contreras ruled that Trump's tariffs addressing the Chinese national security threat are now halted. Utterly insane, on top of last night's ruling from the trade court. Do we even have a republic? So they're now saying that he can't tariff the Chinese government. What does that mean? Zero Hedge has a post by Jane Foley. Says Rabobank, Trump's 90-day tariff pause is not a peace but a ceasefire to rearm. In the on and off nature of President Trump's tariff policy, if the on and off nature of President Trump's tariff policy wasn't confusing enough, the latest twist in the tale has taken trade-related uncertainty into another dimension. Yesterday, the U.S. Court of International Trade ruled that Trump does not have the authority to oppose or impose sweeping tariffs as he has done under the International Emergency Economics Power Act of 1977. Over many years in Congress, they've delegated many powers regarding tariffs to the president, but yesterday's ruling says that, quote, an unlimited delegation of tariffs authority would constitute an improper abdication of legislative power to another branch of government. In addition, while Trump has declared that the U.S. trade deficit created a national emergency, the court has stated that the deficit did not fit the definition of an unusual or extraordinary threat for which the 1977 Act was designed to address. Unsurprisingly, it did not take long for the White House to push back, with spokesperson Desai declaring that, quote, it is not for unelected judges to properly address a national emergency, which, of course, is true. So the White House obviously had to expect this. Zero Hedge posting, White House on tariffs, nothing's really changed. The White House on Thursday downplayed the implications of a court ruling that blocked some of President Trump's tariff measures and suggested they will win on appeal. Quote, if anybody thinks this administration was caught by surprise, think again, Trump trade advisor Peter Navarro told Bloomberg. Nothing's really changed. And I think that's true, because if you look at the ruling and they don't want him to do sweeping tariffs, well, then he'll just have to do, they'll just target everything else with more specificity. So That's certain. Now we have another judge, federal judge, Breitbart.com, writing, federal judge extends order blocking Trump administration ban on foreign students at Harvard. So the judges, everything this administration tries to do, whether you agree with it or not, everything this administration is trying to do is being blocked by the courts. And that brings me to this next story, which is a lesson in further government corruption. We've got a whistleblower that is now saying that the Biden administration used racist loan policies against whites, specifically white farmers. A whistleblower from the U.S. Department of Agriculture has charged that the Biden administration was actively operating a foreign policy of forgiving loans to farmers based on the color of their skin. One moment, I need to get a drink of water. Sorry about that. Excuse me. So News Nation reports that Biden's shadow government purposely hurt white U.S. farmers by issuing a loan program that paid off anyone who wasn't a white male. The Biden regime was trying, listen, quote, was trying to keep this hushed because of the obvious implications of race-based loan forgiveness. News Nation asked the whistleblower, so just to be clear, if you were American Indian, Alaskan Native, Asian, Black, African American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Hispanic, or Latino, you were told you didn't have to pay your bills? And then the former official responded, essentially, yes, that's correct, and that your loan would be forgiven up to 120% of the loan value. The policy was enacted as part of the American Rescue Act, with Section 1005 providing loan relief specifically for socially disadvantaged farmers and whistleblowers, the whistleblower alleges. The legislation passed by the Democrat majority in Congress states that the Secretary of Agriculture shall provide payment in an amount up to 120% of the outstanding indebtedness of each socially disadvantaged farmer. News Nation notes that some farmers, white ones, specifically sued the government in federal court alleging that the policy was race-based and violated the Equal Protection Clause under the Constitution. And as a result of that, a judge ruled that the loan forgiveness program was, quote, an actual constitutional harm that cannot be undone, and noted the fact that the white farmers will suffer the harm of being excluded from eligibility for that debt relief program solely on the basis of race. And he remarked that that fact is irreparable. Irreparable. The USDA whistleblower also told News Nation that only minority farmers received a letter informing them of their potential eligibility as a farm loan program's borrower for a payment under Section 1005 of the American Rescue Plan Act. White farmers were also excluded from notifications of a new payment and loan modification program available under the American Rescue Plan. Incredible. Whistleblower says it's not right, it was discriminatory, unethical, and the people who pushed it are still in charge of the agency. Those at the national office, Trump hasn't gotten rid of them. So, obviously, Trump needs to clean house at the USDA. There's no question about that in response to this report that they wanted to offer loan forgiveness for blacks and anybody else who wasn't white, and they went out of their way to discriminate against farmers because of the color of their skin. Absolutely shameless, incredible. Folks, before we go any further, I want to tell you about Curable Premium CBD. Go to curable.com for all of your CBD needs, and we're not just talking about the muscle cream, although that's my favorite. We're also talking about their tinctures that you drop under your tongue, and you get the CBD in your bloodstream internally. Your body has a cannabinoid system that can receive the molecular structure of CBD. Of course, this stuff doesn't get you high. This has not got THC in it. It's CBD, and CBD is shown to have anti-inflammatory properties. They have all kinds of different products, from bath soaks to stuff for your pets to keep their joints from being inflamed. This is great stuff. I love the muscle cream. I also love the CBD gummies. If you've never tried CBD, this is the time to do it. Quit popping those ibuprofen every single day. And give an all-natural product a try, because at Curable, they not only till the soil and plant the seed and harvest the hemp and extract the hemp. After they do all of that, extract the CBD, They then send it off to a third party to verify they don't use that it's very potent, and they're not using like harmful pesticides or chemicals when they grow this stuff. So what you're putting in your body is all natural, as they say. It's KURIBL. That's KURIBL.com, and use promo code Paul20 and save 20%. Folks, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to be right back after we hear from our latest sponsor and partner, Jace Medical.
Life can be pretty unpredictable, filled with good days and not so good days. And sometimes, the only difference between the two is your level of preparedness. The Jace case lets you be better prepared for whatever comes your way. It contains antibiotics and other prescription medications so that you aren't caught unprepared. With the Jace case, you are able to get your prescription medication before the unpredictable happens, allowing you to turn those not so good days into great ones. Go to jace.com now and get your own Jace case.
So when you go to jace.com, you want to use the promo code Paul, P-A-U-L, and that's going to save you $10 off of these cases. Now, I just ordered one yesterday, and the process was extremely easy, okay? So jace.com, Jase.com, and use promo code Paul. They're going to ask you a few questions, but it's a very easy process. They want to make sure you're not allergic to certain they don't want to send you antibiotics that you're allergic to, right? If you're allergic to penicillin or you're allergic to maybe sulfa-based antibiotics, they're not going to send you those. They're going to make sure you have the whole gambit. So this actually originated from somebody by the name of Dr. Sean Rowland. And, with COVID, we saw that everything was messed up. The supply chains can get screwed up. Everything was very fragile. We didn't realize it. I mean, just think of the toilet paper scenario. So Dr. Sean Rowland saw all this, saw that the system was bloated, broken, buried in red tape, and that's why they created Jace. So with a Jace case, you get a supply of emergency use prescription antibiotics before you need them. For your family, for yourself, for peace of mind. No more pharmacy panic. No more waiting in line during a crisis. It's fast. It is affordable. It's incredibly easy. And if you go to jace.com, Jase.com, you'll answer a few quick questions, and a licensed doctor will review your info, and then the medications are shipped straight to your door. And if you use promo code Paul, you get a discount. So it's jace.com. Use promo code Paul. Jase.com, promo code Paul. And it is it's great to have them on board. We really appreciate the opportunity to give this audience here in the Millstone Report and also Ex-American News the ability to take control of your health if you ever need antibiotics or steroids or anything like that. So, and they have cases for kids as well, so you can get cases for like 12 and under. They've got a parasite cleanse where they combined ivermectin and fenbendazole. So you check all that out as well, and I'll be telling you more about that as the weeks are coming in. All right, so I guess one of the last stories that we have for you here is Theo Von. So this is kind of under the backdrop of Trump telling Netanyahu not to strike Iran while peace negotiations are going on. Obviously, on this program, we're anti-war. So comedian and popular podcast host Theo Von said this, I believe last week or maybe a couple of weeks ago. Take a listen.
I wanted to say something. There's been something that's just been kind of on my heart, and so I feel like I should bring it up. There is, we've had people on the podcast in the past to talk about it. And there's a conflict that's been happening in the Middle East. People know about it, between Israel and Palestine and some of the areas over there, the Gaza area they talk about. And I just think it feels to me, I don't know if it feels to me like it's a genocide that's happening while we're alive here in front of our lives. And I don't, sometimes I feel like I should say something. I'm not a geologist or geographer or anything like that, so I don't know a lot of
this is why people love Theo.
Some of it I do know, though. Like, I know the basics of the issues over there, but for me it's just like how I feel like you see all these photos of people, just children, women, people body parts, just people like putting their kids back together. And I just can't believe that we're watching that and that more isn't said about it.
So, Theo Von, noticing what many of us have noticed, the images over there are absolutely gut-wrenching, and they have been for a long time now. And people putting their kids back together, it is absolutely terrible, and it's one of the reasons why I want peace. I don't want war. I know you don't want war. We want to stop this. We want to stop the death of everybody. I don't want anybody to die. So Theo Von said that. It made the rounds. He's obviously a normal guy, you know, trying to make sense of the images that he's seeing. A lot of those images back in the day were at the height of the TikTok ban, because a lot of the images were coming across on TikTok about what was really going on over there, just the utter carnage. So, of course, Ben Shapiro doesn't like what Theo Von had to say. And this is what he said.
I enjoy Theo Von as much as the next guy, although I think that his political takes are insanely stupid much of the time, because I just don't think that he focuses on that sort of stuff. And if you don't focus on it, he's not claiming to be an expert. That's fine. But if you're not claiming to be an expert, I'm not going to take your opinions on these matters particularly seriously. I mean, Theo Von's a comedian. That's fine. It's also worth noting Theo Von is 45 years old. Theo Von is 4 years older than I am. Theo Von is like, in the olden days, Theo Von would be closing in on the gold watch and retirement. And he dresses like a skater who's 16 years old, wears his hat backwards, and acts as though he's a refugee from the Stoners Club in junior high. It's a little weird.
Okay, so so he says he doesn't claim to be an expert, so I don't have to listen to them. I don't have to listen to him. But the only reason you're talking about it is because Theo Von's take, as we talked about yesterday with Russell Moore's piece in Christianity Today called, warning of the dangers of digital orality, which is a phrase that I hope doesn't take off and nobody ever makes but that's Russell Moore quoting an author, digital orality, this idea of the spoken word getting out there. So Theo Von's clip of him being genuinely heartbroken for children in Gaza who have been blown to bits and their parents are putting them back together has made the rounds, and it's generating sympathy for peace. It's generating, hey, we need to end this. Can we stop killing kids? Without even getting into the geopolitics of it all, can we just all agree that we don't want any more kids to get blown up? And that's the only reason why Ben Shapiro is talking about it, because Ben Shapiro wants the conflict in the Middle East to continue. And that much is clear. And if you doubt that, obviously we're going to prove it to you now. It's not just Theo Von. Okay, let's take somebody who does have geopolitical opinions. Let's take Piers Morgan. Recently, Piers Morgan was talking with the Israeli ambassador to the UK, and he wanted to ask how many kids have been killed, and this did not go over well with the UK, the Israeli ambassador to the United Kingdom.
2 days ago, you have 2 doctors in Gaza who have 10 children, and 9 of them are killed in a bombardment by your forces. That doesn't make people feel, oh, this is all going great. It makes people think that you're waging a systematic destruction, not just of property and of land, but also of children. And that's what's happening. The percentage of children that you're killing compared to the percentage of you're killing of Hamas terrorists, what is it? Do you know? Do you know how many children you've killed? Hang on. Answer me that one question. Do you know how many Hamas terrorists you've killed and how many children you've killed? Do you know those 2 numbers?
I know the numbers that came from the IDF. I know the numbers that came from a very, very established
Give me the 2 numbers.
Wait a second. We killed 30,000. We killed 30,000 terrorists in phase 1 of the war. Since the war is back, I don't have the numbers. But let me tell you one thing. We
And how
never
many children have you killed?
We never target civilians. So this question is irrelevant.
How many children have you killed?
Pierce, Israel is not killing children. Israel is not killing children. Hamas is using them as human shields.
Israel is killing children every single day.
Pierce, this is a blood label you're putting on Israel. You know it's not true.
No, it's not actually. And what you're trying to do is be very weaselly with your words.
No, I'm not.
The truth is, you are killing a lot of children. You would argue you're doing.
You know why it's caused?
Hang on,
because
let me finish.
Hamas is using them as human shields, and you know that.
Let me finish.
Okay, so she went from saying we're not killing children to saying, well, okay, we are. But that's because every child is a human shield, which is preposterous. Every child is not a human shield. And, of course, he asks the question, how many kids have died? She doesn't want to answer at first. She never gives a number, and then says that it's blood libel for Piers Morgan to say that children are, in fact, many of them are being killed in this conflict. President Trump in the news, he got this. According to reports, Donald Trump told Benjamin Netanyahu, do not attack Iran while we're in the midst of negotiations.
Just back on Iran, did you warn Prime Minister Netanyahu against taking some sort of actions that could disrupt the talks there in a phone call last week?
Well, I'd like to be honest. Yes, I did. Next question, please.
Mr. President, just last on sanctions.
I did, yeah.
If Senate Republicans want to push
It's not a warning. I said I don't think it's appropriate.
What exactly did you tell him?
I just said I don't think it's appropriate. We're having very good discussions with him, and I said I don't think it's appropriate right now. Because if we can settle it with a very strong document, very strong, with inspections and no trust. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody. So no trust. I want it very strong where we can go in with inspectors, we can take whatever we want, we can blow up whatever we want, but nobody getting killed. We can blow up a lab, but nobody's going to be in the lab, as opposed to everybody being in the lab and blowing it up, right? Two ways of doing it. Yeah, I told him this would be inappropriate to do right now because we're very close to a solution. Now, that could change at any moment.
It certainly could. Donald Trump saying we're very close to a solution, very close to some sort of agreement here. Also says he envisions a way to do this without having to take lives. An amazing, really used to be a Democratic Party sentiment when it came to, hey, maybe we can do this diplomatically, and if we have to get rid of a facility, we'll clear the facility out and we'll do it that way. We won't actually take lives. Pretty wild juxtaposition, and of course, right on cue, Ben Shapiro took issue with that. But we don't have time. I am out of time. There it is. Ben Shapiro launched an attack on President Trump for telling Netanyahu not to strike Iran during ongoing negotiations. So here's the deal. As always, God bless everybody out there watching. That's all the time that I have for today. But this is what I would urge everybody to do. Pray for peace. Pray for peace in Ukraine and Russia. Pray for peace in the Middle East. Pray for this killing to stop. And pray for the men who can actually do something about it to like a President Trump, to be empowered to do it and to make the right decision and to stop the killing, so that we don't get ourselves into World War III. That would be my advice. That's all the time that I have for this edition of the Millstone Report, unless I'm providentially hindered. I'll be back here on Friday delivering you the news. God bless everybody out there watching, and we'll see you soon.
The very foundation of the Christian faith is based